There's a moment every grower hits, whether they're tending a modest backyard bed or managing a full field, when they realize the modern obsession with fertilizer creates more problems than it solves. It overfeeds, it burns roots, it washes away in the rain, and it trains plants to rely on force instead of a functioning soil system. Stay with this for the next minute, because understanding what truly grows plants can save you money, time, and entire seasons of frustration. Fertilizer has become a crutch, and once you see the alternatives that older growers and entire civilizations relied on, you won't look at your soil the same way again. The truth is that fertilizer, especially synthetic blends, was never meant to replace soil life. It was a wartime invention scaled up afterward because it produced quick results. But, history shows that quick results rarely lead to long-term fertility. Look at ancient farming cultures in China, Ethiopia, or the Mediterranean. Their soils remained productive for thousands of years without synthetic inputs because they worked with natural cycles instead of overriding them. And that is exactly what today's gardener needs to return to. The real reason fertilizer fails is because it cannot rebuild the soil system. Fertilizer gives nutrients, but it does not repair structure. It does nothing for microbial diversity. It does not increase moisture retention or aeration. So, when growers apply it to compacted, lifeless soil, the nutrients simply pass through like water through gravel. Plants take up a little. The rest is washed away or locked up. A plant's roots respond to the world around them. In dead soil, they remain weak and shallow, unable to access the nutrients you paid for. The fix begins with rebuilding the soil's structure. This can be done without digging and without adding store-bought products. Start by covering your soil with a thick layer of organic material, such as shredded leaves, dry grass, or chopped plant residues from the garden. Just leave it on the surface and let time, moisture, and soil organisms pull it downward. A practical example is converting a patch of hard, exhausted earth into a productive bed. You would lay down several centimeters of dry leaves, soak them thoroughly, and leave them for a few weeks. The top layer begins to soften, worms return, and the structure rebuilds from the surface downward. This approach really just mimics what forest floors have been doing naturally for thousands of years. No fertilizer at all, yet somehow there's this incredible fertility. Honestly, the real power comes from organic matter. It increases porosity, helps hold water, and, it feeds the microbes. Those little guys, in turn, release nutrients in forms that plants can actually use. So, the most effective replacement for fertilizer is, without a doubt, a controlled decomposition system right there in your soil. Growers often misunderstand decomposition, thinking it has to be some elaborate compost pile or a really complex system. But in reality, the fastest and most reliable way to make nutrients available is simply to combine moist organic material with a carbon-rich cover, right on the soil itself. This, well, it creates a slow fermentation layer, much like the methods used in medieval European gardens and in Asian small plot farming. It's the original nutrient cycle, steady, predictable, and self-sustaining. So, to put this into practice, just take a handful of kitchen scraps, like vegetable peels, spent tea leaves, or even crushed eggshells, and bury them just a few centimetres beneath your mulch layer, not way down in the soil. Then simply cover them again with some dry material. The mulch traps moisture, which allows controlled breakdown rather than the fast, smelly rot you would get in exposed conditions. Over the next few weeks, those scraps become nutrient-rich humus right where the plant roots can access it. One example is improving fruiting crops like peppers or tomatoes. Instead of feeding them store-bought fertilizer every 2 weeks, bury small pockets of chopped green waste near the drip line and cover them with mulch. As the material decomposes, the plants receive a slow, steady nutrient supply without spikes or deficiencies. This method also supports beneficial fungi, which, dramatically improves nutrient uptake. Water management determines whether natural soil fertility actually works. Shallow, frequent watering discourages deep roots and interrupts decomposition. But deep watering, done less frequently, allows moisture to sink into the soil and create a stable environment where microbes can thrive. This is the same pattern used by traditional farmers who depended on deep soil moisture rather than constant surface irrigation. So, to apply this, just water generously until the soil is moist, several hand-widths down, then allow the surface to dry before watering again. Plants will send roots downward where moisture remains, and decomposition at the mulch soil boundary stays active. Over time, your soil gains resilience, holding water longer and, reducing your need for irrigation or fertilizer. Once the natural system begins working, your soil becomes increasingly self-fertile. This is the point many growers never reach because they remain stuck in the cycle of feeding. When you build soil from above, manage water correctly, and allow decomposition to occur in the root zone, the soil starts producing its own supply of plant-available nutrients. Worms increase, fungal networks expand, organic matter accumulates. This is the same principle that sustained terrace farms for centuries and allowed small villages to produce abundant harvests without any bagged fertilizer. The strength of the soil came from steady organic cycling, not chemical boosts. If you stop buying fertilizer and start building soil the way nature does it, your plants will grow stronger, your yields will improve, and the entire growing process will feel more grounded and predictable. If this guide helps sharpen your understanding of soil and self-sustaining fertility, make sure you subscribe to FarmLab and share this video. Every grower who learns this strengthens their land for the long term.